That was a fun event for sure.
It was. Here we go.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the round number 47 of the WBC Talks. This is going to be a fight night.
Fight
It's going
night.
to be really interesting, of course. Before we introduce our guest, let me introduce 𝗧𝗔𝗟𝗡𝗗. She's the director of the WBC University, and she has a great message for you.
Thank you, Victor. Hi, Jill. Hi, everybody. I can't wait until we're going to listen to this great fight night. So I'm going to try to be quick and to share with you a positive thinking idea that we do at the beginning of each panel, so we can help the people in the other side of the screen, the people who are at their homes in confinement, to trying to help them with something positive. And today we are going to talk about anxiety management and the control of our self-speech, okay?
Yes.
Anxiety studies, there's a study that shows the level of anxiety in the young athletes, okay? It says that more or less 80% of them, of the athletes that have been evaluated, they have a high level of anxiety, okay? And that 92% of them, they don't concentrate well. They are not thinking well, okay? So in that matters, we think that we need to share with them, and what we are going to share for them, we can take it for ourselves, some techniques that will help us to focus and to control the words that we say and how we think. First, we need to have a control of our mind, of our thoughts, okay? That is going to help us to reduce anxiety. Here in these panels, we've been sharing some different types of mental control training that is going to help us through a confinement to be more positive, okay? When we feel that our mood is changing, that we are getting in a bad mood, here we have been recommended that maybe you go and stand up in front of a mirror and look at yourself. And we don't look well when we are in a bad mood. And just by looking to ourselves is going to help us to change, okay, our attitude. We put a bad mood, agreeing, and then we smile, and then in the moment it changed, okay? And of course, we need to increase our motivation, but nobody can do it for us. We have to take responsibility of how we feel. And because of that, we need to build it with positive phrases like, I am, I can, I want, okay? Try to always think positive. It doesn't matter if it's not easy, okay? Because the only thing we really have right now is the control and of our thoughts, okay? We cannot control what is happening out there. We can only control what is happening here in our mind. And from there, then we can start actioning some other positive things for us and for our family and our home and our work, whatever. Adversity is part of our life, okay? We need to face it, okay? It's part of our daily routine, of our daily life, and how we face it is going to determine our future, okay? How we act is going to have an impact, an immediate impact in our life, and maybe in 1 month, 2 months, when we go back to the real world, okay? And because of that, I want to exchange with you or to share with you two small exercises, okay? The first exercise we can practice is choosing a keyword that is going to be, that means something for you, okay? And you can go to a moment maybe when you are doing your morning exercises and try to think in that moment. Just go through your routine and think, imagine that moment, okay? Once you are focusing on your training routine in the morning and night, try to introduce your keyword. Then try to combine what you are going through your mind when you are working your routine, and then your keyword, okay? That is going to put you in a moment when you have a pleasant personal scene where you are going to be able to associate your routine with your key positive word, okay? And another exercise you can do is think like if you have a smart TV in front of you, and in one channel you have the channel that says how everything is so hard and everything is terrible and you are going to lose your physical condition and everything, okay? Then you change to another channel and then you put your keyword, and then you are going to think it's positive, it's good. We are going to be through with this pandemic. We are going to be back to our daily routines. And that way we are training our mind, we are training our heart, we are training everything to be good, to be healthy in the mind, in the heart, physically, and everything. And remember, yesterday we talked about communication to others. Today we are talking about communication to ourselves. It's very, very important how we speak to ourselves, okay? Well, have a great panel. I'm going to enjoy it very much listening to you. Thank you, Victor.
Thank you, 𝗧𝗟𝗡. And now let me introduce Mauricio Sulaiman, President of the World Boxing Council. Mauricio, welcome.
Hello, welcome. Good afternoon. Very happy to see these smiling faces. Look at Thurston, El Guapo, Hogan, the great photographer, Coco. Now the champ is in the house.
The champ in the house.
And Curran, and I don't see Mark Tuffet, but I think he's connected. This is a special edition of the WBC Talks. For those who have not seen it, it's a way of keeping communications with the world, with the outside world, which is inside now through the communications. And Jill Diamond has been a driving force, very helpful, and she's got tremendous ideas. So she said, let's do this specific with these people. So welcome. I'm very thankful to all of you. It's great to see you, and cannot wait to see you in person and give you a big hug. And to Coco, she doesn't hug, so we'll do it by the distance.
Now let me introduce Jill Diamond, who put together everything here today, as usual. Jill.
Hello, everybody. Am I on? Yes. So the fans, the sweat, the tears, the excitement, the nerves, how to dress, where to meet. It's fight night, and you have great seats. For the next few hours, you will watch some of the finest athletes in the world, some hometown heroes, a few first-timers, and then build to the main event where the tension and the thrills crescendo. But unlike the leagues, this is a global sport. Athletes, crews, cameras, promoters, PR, trainers, cutmen, reporters, timekeepers, stage managers, doctors, ambulances, security, commissions, people come in from all over the world. Do they miraculously appear? Have you ever wondered? The complicated, ever-changing, anxiety-filled matchups and plane tickets and platforms and music and fight walks and outfits. I'm dizzy. So, what are some of the hidden elements that go into a fight night? And who are these hidden heroes? What are their secrets? Let's find out. Okay, victim number one. Victor, are you going to introduce everyone, or shall we do it as we go along?
It's up to you, whatever you prefer.
I don't care, so let's start.
Go with, huh?
Go ahead. No,
Go ahead, Gil. Go ahead.
It's my night. You go ahead.
It's yours. It's your fight.
screen's froze.
All right. Why don't we start with Coco, who seems to be the most backstage. Nobody knows what Coco does, but every fight must feel like a year to you. I mean, I don't know how you do it. It's like herding kittens. You have the onstage talent, you have the offstage talent, you have the announcers. I mean, you do it on the air, before the air, and then the entourages that come in. So my first question is, what is it you do as talent relations? And also, how do you keep your calm, and do you miss it?
Yes, I absolutely miss it.
You do miss it.
I miss it.
We will miss you.
Yeah, it was a big disappointment, as probably everybody here would agree, you know, when HBO decided not to carry boxing anymore. So yeah, still recovering from that. So I have to say, I so understand when the boxers retire from the sport, you know, how it makes them feel internally. You know, there's so many components that go into, you know, how they feel and what they go through. So I feel for them on that level.
Well, you have a particularly close relationship with the boxers that most people don't. So just tell us a little bit about that, please.
Sure. So, you know, as it pertains to the boxers, primarily what I was doing with them would be anything from getting them on a red carpet to gain some additional exposure for them, working with them on a promo shoot, getting them in places that they normally wouldn't have access to, as far as getting them more in front of the fan base, charity events, sports Emmy nights, getting them to do, you know, maybe a MC role, you know, like I said, walking the red carpet for big premieres. And yeah, there's been a multitude of things that have increased their capacity to relate to people outside of their normal training group.
So you're trying to get them a bigger market, to expand them, not just as athletes, but as people that can go out in the world that anyone would recognize them. Do you also deal with the audience, with the stars in the audience and with the announcer and all of those people?
Yes, as well as with the announcer team, you know, the commentators, the hosts, and also with in the same spectrum, trying to get them in front of places that they normally wouldn't be. And also trying to tie in, a lot of times I try to tie in their, you know, if they have something that they're passionate about on a give back perspective. You know, for instance, I remember, you know, I always try to think out of the box, try to create things that might not have been opportunities before. We one time had put together, you know, the usual come meet and greet with a boxer. Let's say we did something with Canelo and Gennady Golovkin around their fight, where we would take two of the boxers, zone in on maybe if there was a charity that they were involved with, or if not, you know, working with Canelo, he didn't have a charity that he was working with, but he was very passionate about working with an organization that could help blind people see again. So we worked around, and I gave him 3 different organizations that were international that, you know, help people regain their eyesight. And from there, we put together a meet and greet, and it went on one of those charity buzz type of platforms where they would raise a lot of money, and then the boxers could then take that money and give back to their charities.
Wow. Now, I know that your job is full time, but Fight Night is here now. And besides looking like the most glamorous woman at Fight Night, always was the case, What actual stuff that you do on the Fight Night?
Yeah, so Fight Night can be a little tricky. There's a lot of different things going on with the celebrity talent. You know, we used to do, you know, work with the buzz crew, and then we changed working with the cameras in the arena, getting, you know, the celebrity talent to interact with the camera, you know, getting the celebrities, inside and outside of the ring, working with the venue security team, you know, getting their secret entrance and their quick exits out. Yeah, those are a few of the things, along with, you know, tickets, and if there's a pre-fight party or after party, and working closely with production and the camera crew.
It's a lot. That is so a lot under such a tense circumstances. So we're going to get back to you because there's a lot more to tell, but Thorsten, you remind me of one of the great referees. You're invisible. You're absolutely invisible, but you're an essential person. I mean, to the logistic, to building the fight, to the style, the glitz, the tickets, the posters, the amazing staff that follow us around the country from venue to venue. I don't know where you get those women, but they are the top. And the guest list, and you exhaust me. So what are the factors that play into an event that you're doing?
First of all, I like being invisible. I think there's a lot of people who like to be in the front row. We don't. We like to make it happen in the back end. But as Coco just said, on a fight night, and especially the ramp up to the fight night, is so many things which are happening. I mean, Sean is going to tell you in a second from his perspective, but you know, once the fight is done and signed and they're setting a date, there's so many million things of stuff you have to organize, getting the people there, flying the people, testing them, being at press conferences, yada, yada, yada. And don't forget, we've arrived already on the Monday in that city. So we had already like 6 very, very long, stressful days behind us with the media workout, with the last press conference, with the satellite tour. Then it comes to weigh-in on the day before, where everybody's like high on emotion and everything, and then fight night comes. And the funny thing is, fight night is, like Coco just said, there's so many layers, and everything, of course, is happening at the same time. You know, you want to make sure the fighters are happy, and the camps and the management, but then the promoter needs to be happy, the press needs to be happy. You know, Coco's team wants to get into the locker room, but the fighters trying to concentrate on getting out into the ring. Something else happens in the arena. You know, credentials are missing. Some people have dislocated their tickets. Celebrities are trying to get in, but they want to bring 2 more friends with them, and they can't. It's a lot.
But so the obvious question is, how do you keep your cool when all that is going on? Because it seems impossible to me.
I could tell you now what I drink after fight night, but that would be considered promotional advertising, so better not. No, I think this is a job, and this goes for Coco, for Tom, for everybody who does that job. Mark also in his past. This is a job, either you love it or you really hate it. There's no in between. And I think when you love it and you accept all those challenges, you automatically brace yourself for something like that to happen. What I like about it, every fight night is different. There's always something, and you think you've planned everything out, and everything is meticulously run off show, planned by the second and everything, and bang, done. Something happens. I remember Sean's last big fight, Staples Center, against Errol Spence, and there was an issue actually between the co-main and the main event, and we didn't want anybody to see this issue on television. So television goes somewhere else. We're fixing the ring in between. You know, people like Hervey, Eric, Sammy, Roy, they're all running around and doing things. You just got to stay cool, because you know everything is live, and it's also, you are the support function for the fighter, because quite frankly, at the end of the day, the only person who really works hard that night and puts their life on the line is the fighters, yeah, in the ring. I mean, we're doing support functions and all of that stuff, but you know, we're not risking our lives. We're not professional athletes. We're not doing anything. So it's the supporting, and that makes you, at least in my case, makes you really calm and collected, because you know the responsibility you have, and you just want to make sure you do 100% of your job.
So how does boxing differ from the other events that you do?
I would say, you know, Sean, correct me if I'm wrong, but Sean said at one time during a press conference, because basically you have this one shot, right? So this is this one night, this one evening, and everything can go wrong in 1 second. So, oh shit.
Oh, shit.
Did I say so cool?
Yeah, sometimes you lose your cool. This was the weigh-in of Canelo and Golovkin, and Tom Hogan actually caught this. He's going to talk in a second. Never mind. So you completely got me with this one. But so you got to prep this all out. And the difference between boxing and other clients is with other clients, you can retake that evening, right? Or the event. You can redo the speech, or you can say like, oh, we're delayed. You know, we just wait 30 minutes or whatever. But no, that night, the fighter is ready. The television is ready. Everything has to work like clockwork and has to smooth over. And with boxing, as Sean said in that press conference, I remember that, and I will never forget it. He said, like, we have one shot, right? And with one punch, something can go really wrong or really good for himself. And so there's more pressure, that's for sure. There's definitely more pressure.
And the logistics.
Well, I mean, what do you want me to talk about? It's thousands of hotel rooms. It's 1,000 of flights. It's a lot of people involved. You know, what the fan sees on television is the fighters, but you know, if the camera sometimes goes into the audience, you see how many people are in the back end. The promotion is big, the doctors, the commissions, the sanctioning bodies, all of those people are involved, and everybody has their place, and everybody needs to get moved around or helped around or facilitated. It's huge.
It's huge. So I want to come back to you and ask you about what it's going to be like after this and what trends do you see happening. But first I want to go to another part of the fight that nobody knows about. Curran, take us into the truck. What happens in the truck?
Absolutely. No, thank you. Thank you to Jill, Victor, Mauricio for having me and this great panel on and doing what you do with WBC Talks. And I think there's a lot of really good points made before. It really is, to Thorsten's point, I mean, we're all bringing this event to life, but it's fighters like Sean Porter here who really are putting their life on the line for our entertainment. And so it's our job to show who they are, and that can start months before the event. As soon as the fight is announced, for example, we brought up Sean Porter versus Errol Spence. I mean, that was a mega fight. I was lucky enough to work on some of the pre-programming, the countdown shows that prepared us for this event. So we sent out teams into their camps. We get to watch them train. But I think what's more important is what makes these fighters tick, right? Let's lean into who they are. And I'm sure Sean can talk about this in a little bit, but for example, I know he calls it the Porter way, and learning about the Porter way. And I'm looking forward to Sean talking about that. But you start with the pre-programming, which can get fans and, general sports fans, boxing fans excited for the event. And then the fight night comes. And as Thorsten said, I mean, when we're in the production team, I've been lucky enough to be a producer at HBO for about 8.5 years. And more recently, I've been able to do freelance producing and also be an on-air talent and call fights. But when we get to the event, you get there early on a Monday or Tuesday. There's a lot of fight week events. There's a weigh-in. There's a lot of things that lead up to that. And the night of the fight, it's, you've done so much work, months and months of preparation, research, it's a lot of pressure to make sure that you're able to execute at that moment. So in the production truck, you'll have a team of people, a producer, a director, a tape room who's doing replays and showing pre-edited elements. There's a graphics department. There's people who are sitting next to the announcers, stage managers, and everyone has their own job to do. And we're working off of a format or a rundown going through the event. And you want to make sure that everything is seamless, everything's on time. To Thorsten's point, there are sometimes curveballs that come into place. I mean, we've had moments just off of the top of my head. I believe it was Manny Pacquiao was fighting Tim Bradley And there was a delay for a certain reason. Pacquiao was in his locker room, and we had to fill on our telecast for, I believe it was 30 minutes to an hour. Someone brought up Canelo versus Triple G. I believe in the rematch was when we had a lot of short knockouts in the first 3 fights. And what that means is there's pay-per-view contracts, and the main event can't walk for a certain time because you want to make sure that you're hitting that main event walkout at what is going to be prime time, right around 8 p.m. On the West Coast, a little later on the East Coast. And so you may have to fill in your broadcast to get to that time. There's no more fights, and that's where a lot of the pre-production, a lot of the pre-produced elements, interviews, things like that come into place. But you have to kind of be ready, you have to be prepared, you have to be on your feet. And so there's a lot of work and a lot of research that comes into it, and it's all about executing on the actual fight night.
That's great. But talking about pay-per-view, we have Mr. Mark Tappet here. You've gone from the king of pay-per-view to a manager. Does your inside knowledge of the way the network works help you being a manager, or does it frustrate you because you can see the way things could be done differently? Tell us a little bit about that journey.
Well, first, I listened to what you said, and I just realized, wow, what did I do? Was I crazy? Oh my God.
Everyone,
yeah, that is what I did, but yeah. And I seem to be happier now for it, but that's okay. Look, I had the 25 greatest years that anybody could have. They never even called it work. My God, the fights, the magnitude of fights, the fighters, the promoters, the venues, the people like that are on the panel here that you get to meet and work with along the years. It was just magnificent. You know, I don't really like the title of manager because it's not what I do for Claressa Shields, and it's not what I do for any fighter. I try to advise fighters on, I learned a lot of things that can go wrong for fighters. A lot of deals that go wrong, a lot of relationships that go bad. Fighters are taken advantage of in many ways. They don't always get the best advice. And with all that I knew and learned, I thought that, you know, maybe I could give back to these athletes who have very short careers in general. Some of them are fortunate to have long careers. Most of them have a few years. And I thought, you know, if I can help them avoid some of those pitfalls and potholes, if I can help give them some advice that'll help them, that'll get them a little bit further than other folks in the industry, other fighters, I'd be doing them a great service. So I very carefully choose the fighters I work with, and I try to really, you know, use my background and experience to let them leapfrog and get ahead and avoid the pitfalls that so often bring even the best fighters down or prevent them from realizing their potential.
well, but what we want to know from you, Mark, is you've done all these wonderful things.
Let me introduce, let me stop you for 1 second.
Okay.
I just got a message from Omar Miller. He's watching,
Hello.
and he says that he loves all of you. And just to put from a perspective of a celebrity going into a fight, how important people like Thornton and Coco have been for us to have a good time. And he says, they saved my ass several times. Sends best regards to all of you.
Omar Benson Miller is probably one of the craziest fight fans I've ever met. You know, he knows every fight. He knows every fighter. Amazing.
And there are, though there's no one exactly like Omar, I know you deal with many people like Omar the night of the fight who wants to be treated special because they are special. And wow, that's a lot of work. So Mark, it's fight night. You're now at fight night. You took care of your fighter. You got that match. You're walking in the arena. What are you doing the day of the fight, getting your boxer to the fight?
As a manager?
As the manager.
Well, I'll go back a little bit to my old days at HBO, which is why I wore this today, because that's really where I learned what fight night was about. So the miracle, the true miracle that happens in boxing is when the fighters actually make it to the ring, the television signal makes it to the living room,
Right.
and the people pay their bills. When those three things happen, it's a miracle, because the the probabilities of things going wrong so dwarf that miracle. So I never took for granted that you were going to get to see the main event. We had the Fan Man fight, you know, which you'll never forget. We had, I'll never forget in Madison Square Garden for 𝗥𝗢𝗨𝗡𝗗, you know, a riot broke out that overtook the entire arena. In the case of Lewis and Tyson, we had so many issues to get those fighters to the ring because they were busy, you know, they were battling each other, and there were social forces at stake that were making it difficult for that fight to take place. In Mayweather-Pacquiao, the most incredible thing that took place, we had so many people buying the fight that we couldn't take orders, and we had to stop the action in the ring for 30 minutes while we waited to see if people could get the event. So very, very difficult. And then we had a power failure once in the middle of the event. The generator, the backup generator, the main power and the backup power went out. And we had to figure out a way to communicate to fans at home that they should stay with us because we were going to come back and still bring them the fight that night. You talk about crisis management, that's what you're doing. And even when things are going well, you're going through every possible crisis in your mind because you have to be ready on a moment's notice. It's live television. It's very unforgiving. So we were ready on a moment's notice to address and solve any problem that would come up, and made me old.
Amazing. So Tom, how does one become a top photographer and get that seat at the ring to take those pictures? I know everyone wants to do it. Everyone thinks they're a photographer, but you got that seat. How did you do it?
A lot of hard work. Guys like Thorsten. I work close with Thorsten. I shoot for Triple G and I shoot for Golden Boy. And so it just takes a lot of years. I've been doing it since '95. I've shot for Golden Boy since 2007 and Triple G for probably the last 4 years. But it's a lot of work. But to stay there, that's the hard part, is to stay there, because people are always coming up and willing to work for cheap and things like that. But I just try to deliver quality, and my thing is that no one will ever out hustle me. And so I work pretty damn hard. And it's
something about Tom. Let me add something for you, Tom, because Tom is one of the few people who's actually allowed on fight night in the inner sanctum, you know, because the locker room of the fighter is completely sealed up.
In the dressing rooms.
And he's there, and there's a reason why Tom is one of the very, very few people being allowed in there.
Well, the other thing I think that's important to know is, you know, photographer slots are part of the media world and the media demand on a fight. And as media develops, as we went from cable to satellite, from print to internet to digital to social media, the new outlets that became important. And for the sport's not only survival, but for the sport to thrive, we had to find places for the biggest, most important media outlets. And unfortunately, it wasn't always based on who was the best photographer. It was very often based on who had the most number of eyeballs that would be looking at the product that was shot. The photographer had to get the gig with the right outlet, not just be great at their job. And it created tremendous stress for guys like Tom to be the ones that ultimately got there. But I always knew that the priorities of what media outlets need to be there was one thing. But if you didn't have, you know, a Ross Greenberg producing, or a Rick Bernstein producing the telecast, if you didn't have the great photographer with the eye at ringside, it didn't matter what all those other demands were. You weren't going to give the best product to the consumer. And at the end of the day, delivering the best product is what's important. So I tried to marry it with the media needs so that we could have the right people working for the right outlets to give the fans what they deserve.
And Victor, is Sean an easy guy to commentate on?
Yeah, of course. It's amazing to be, because he's so energetic and he's always giving you something to say. It's when you're that close to the ring, you get energized from the fights. I believe that when people ask me what is the best moment when you're working on television, I would say when the producer, I used to be a producer for 15 years and I produced fights as current, and now I'm commentating. But when the producer or the master said, you will be in the air in 5, 4, 3, that gives you the energy, and then you take it from the fighters on the ring.
So Sean, the stuff that people don't necessarily know, take us from entering the venue, walking into the dressing room. What are you feeling now?
No, I think that first of all, hello everybody, miss you all, and hope to see y'all sooner than later. For me, I think that what I have going on my team, I think the way that we operate is very special and unique and different from most of the other teams and fighters out there. Just the simple thing of us going to, I mean, people say, they say when you're getting in the boxing ring, you're going to war. And we really do kind of move in that pattern where my dad's always right in front of me. I'm right behind my dad. One of my coaches is to my right, the other coach is to my left. And we move as a unit. And I'll tell you guys right now, I've been training. I'm finishing week 6 of training, I believe. And right now, it's funny being on this Zoom with you guys. My motivation right now is to get back to that feeling that I have of arriving to an arena and being able to go into the locker room and really get ready for that night, get ready for that war that I spoke of. And I really do think that what we do is very special because we move as a unit and we kind of all know what each other is thinking, and that's how we operate.
Do you have any special kind of rituals or things that you do when you get into your dressing room? Do you want to put on the headsets or just be left alone, or you have a team in there?
I got a funny story because for a majority of my professional career, I never had to fight in front of no fans. All of my fights have always been, there's been thousands of fans in every fight that I've had. So I'm blessed from that standpoint. But I've always kind of been spoiled a little bit where I always got my own locker room and always had my own space and things like that. I'll never forget, I had a fight. I was probably about 18-0 at the time. And I'm fighting in Oklahoma nonetheless. And I fought just after 𝗧𝗔𝗟𝗞𝗦, and we had to share locker rooms. Now, my locker room, if anything, when we usually have music going, it's usually Christian music. It's gospel, Kirk Franklin, upbeat, make me feel good, give me good motivation, and all that kind of stuff. And I just really can get into my spirit with that kind of stuff. And 𝗧𝗔𝗟𝗞𝗦 is known as the dog. And we grew up together. So when we were told that we had to share locker rooms, it was no big deal at all until he came in with his team. His team does not move like my team. And they come in with their sound system and they're bumping this loud music that's got a lot of cussing in it. And he's up dancing around and just really feeling himself. And my team, we're more so like we hear the words, we'll sing to a song, or we'll kind of remind each other of the game plan or something like that. But it just was unlike anything I had ever even experienced before at that point in my career. And it allowed me to recognize, hey man, loosen up and have some fun. You can still do what you got to do, but have some fun doing it. So that was actually a very good experience for me. But it was, again, an experience to see another team in the locker room operate completely different from us. I mean, he told them when he wanted to wrap up. He stretched when he wanted to stretch, all that kind of stuff. My team knows what I want to do. We get in the locker room and we're there about an hour before I get wrapped up. After I get wrapped up, they know I'm going to do my ritual warm-up that I do, and I'm going to stretch. No one talks to me. No one bothers me, and I love it because I get to really get into myself before they get into my mind, and then we start to really get going. I know a lot of guys in the locker rooms, always some music going. Some locker rooms a little louder than others, which is, again, it's fun. But that's the way that most fighters get into our zone is by playing that music that makes us feel good and doing whatever we can to get amped up and ready for the moment.
Besides your immediate team, do you invite visitors into your locker room, or do you like it more private?
I've always liked the more private locker room. And after this last fight, I don't know what I'm going to do. So I got a call the morning of the fight hey, Sean, Bobby Brown is here. He doesn't have tickets. What do you want to do? I said, get him tickets. We'll do whatever we got to do. So at that point, I knew Bobby was going to be there. I had texted a couple of times and hadn't heard back from him. And the closer you get to the fight, the more things don't matter, to me at least. And so I left it alone. But to get that call the morning of the fight was pretty special to me. So I knew he was going to be in the stands. And again, I go off to myself to do my warm-up and everything. And then when I come back to the room to join the rest of my team and the camera crew that was there and all that, Bobby was standing there in the locker room waiting on me. And that was a really big special moment for me because Bobby Brown, to me, I mean, Bobby Brown is my dude, you know, and I love his music and I play it all the time. So to come out and have that surprise of him being in my locker room was very, very special for me. I was not singing Bobby Brown right there.
There are you singing Bobby Brown.
I love it.
So after that, I'm like, you know, I feel great. And he came in and he didn't disrupt anything. I think I'll be all right if, you know, another celebrity or someone else special comes to the locker room before I fight.
Yeah, I guess it would depend on the vibe that they bring with them. But okay, who chooses your outfit? Who chooses the music for your ring walk?
I do. I choose all of that. So the ring walk has always been gospel music. For a long time, the song that I came out to was God and Me. And I just wanted people to kind of send in a subliminal message to the fans, people that were watching on TV, everyone in the arena, that when you see me get in the ring and you see me do, like Victor said, how energetic I am, I want there to be a glimpse that there's more than just Sean Porter in the ring. And I want you guys to know that God is in the ring with me and God has given me the ability to do the things that I do. So I used God in Me for a long time. Then I started mixing it with other gospel music and all that. So usually it's gospel music. I always want to have God in front of me, whatever I do. And I want people to hear and see God whenever they are listening to me or watching me. And then as far as the outfit attire, my dad kind of started letting me take control of it a while ago. And so I just come to him and I say, hey man, this is what we're going to do. And another funny story is after my fight with 𝗧𝗔𝗟𝗞𝗦, I wanted to change who I was having doing my fight attire. And so I called up Deontay Wilder. I said, hey man, you got some great stuff. Who you got for me? He connects me with the guy that he uses. And I go to my dad. My dad says, hey, what are we wearing to the fight? I says, you talking about the ring fight gear? He says, yeah, what are we doing? I said, well, I got a crazy idea. I just need you to go with me on this. He says, what's the idea? I said, well, I went and saw Aladdin. And after I saw that movie, I just thought that the production was amazing. And I don't know what we're going to do yet, but it's going to be something Aladdin themed. He says, Sean, you got me walking out like a genie. I said, I don't know yet, but we were able to put something together. And he did have a little bit of input on this one because he was very worried about what he was going to be wearing to the ring. But for the most part, it's just me, and it's all about just being creative and doing something different every time you go out.
It's great.
You know what I like, Jill?
Yes, sir.
Just ask Sean what's his favorite color. That's why I love his outfits.
I should. What is your favorite color?
My favorite color is green. And let's go back a little bit just to that. So after I lost the IBF, I think I had 6 or 7 fights before I fought for the WBC.
You were my first champion in the ABF.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I will never forget that. And once I lost the IBF, didn't know what we were going to do. It was just a matter of getting back in the ring and getting into position to fight for another world championship title. Once I started to find out that I was going to be fighting and getting ranked to fight in the WBC, I think I was about 5 fights away from my world championship title at that point. And I said, every outfit that I have has to have green in it. And it was, for me, was just
nice.
It was, I wanted to embody that. I wanted to, you know, people say, speak it into existence. Not only was I speaking it into existence, but I was wearing it, I was living it, and I literally was dreaming it. and I wanted it, and I want it now, you know. So I started basically just green's already been my favorite color, but I wanted to commit everything to the WBC, to winning that title, and I felt that whatever I could do that was green worthy, I was willing to do it and make it happen. And when that moment came for me, it was very, very special.
Could I just ask one question? Because Sean, you have such a unique perspective on this. I'm just curious. You're a notoriously hard worker, as we know. You don't cheat camp at all. When you're walking out with all the fans, are you feeling a calmness because you put in the work, or is that a moment for you to just kind of get amped up because of obviously the battle that you're about to go in?
Yeah, going all the way back to what I said to start. My motivation right now is to have that feeling in that moment of being in the locker room and then eventually walking out to the ring is one of that's a feeling that's I don't know if you guys have ever gone skydiving, but skydiving is very electric, and your adrenaline just shoots up immediately, and that's how it is when they open that curtain and your music comes on. And so I can't wait to get to that. And so my whole thing has always been, I don't like fighting in front of no one. I love when the stands are filled up. So my whole thing is, I'm feeling good. I'm feeling great. Let me look around, make sure everybody's here to witness me do what I do. And that's what I do along the way to the ring. But definitely going back to what I said, I know that if I haven't trained hard, then that moment that I'm looking forward to won't be the same. And I think that's why I get so much motivation right now to get up and do everything that I have to do as far as training goes. I have no clue when I'm going to fight right now, but as long as I'm holding on to that moment, and I know that I have to be ready for that moment, I'm getting ready now. So that's one of the best moments of boxing.
So being that you brought that up, I mean, we know that in a year or so, boxing is going to be like powerful, more powerful than before. People, they're going to want to see it. They're going to want to see it all the time. But the immediate future, the trends that are coming, Thorsten, Mark, Curran, anyone who has any ideas about what you see is happening in the next few months, or any ideas about this? You
know what? I don't know. Let me say this. And right here in my community, this COVID virus hasn't really hit my community. And it hasn't hit Las Vegas the way that it's hit a lot of cities and states here in America and obviously across the world. So once we started our phases of coming out of quarantine, everyone's at the park, everyone's shopping, everyone wants to just get back to normal.
Mask, John.
I'm sorry?
Mask or no mask?
Oh, yes, ma'am. I would say right now it's about 75, 80% of the people are out there wearing masks.
I'm going to send you a bunch of this.
Go for it. Go for it. Yeah, I'll connect it to mine. I actually have an air filter connected to mine. So I'm locked and loaded. But just saying all that to say it's very contrary to what I expected. I expected people to still want to be themselves, want to take care of their health, and not want to go out and take those kind of risks. And it kind of makes me feel that when it's time to go back to the arenas, people are going to want to come back to the arena. I hope that's the case, but even I know yet and still, I think the government, I think everyone else is going to want to play it safe to start. So my dad and I were talking about it just a couple of days ago. We don't see there being more than 20 to 30 people at the stadium, and that's including my team, his team, the judges, the commission. And I mean, I really think that they're going to cut it off there. So I think everyone wants to be safe. I think once they start to do the testing on fighters and start to see that we're able to get in the ring, out of the ring safely, I think then they'll start to invite fans to come back to the fights. And I'm hoping that once that happens, fans are going to want to come back and see us. But I do think that right now is a fantastic time for boxing. I said this in an interview just yesterday. Boxing has something that no other sports have. Every other sport has a season. They have a time that they are allowed to be on TV, a time that they're allowed to promote, a time that they're going to be talked about on Fox, ESPN, so on. Boxing does not have a season. I mean, we could flip up a coin right now and say go. And when we go, all eyes are going to be on us because no one has anything else right now, you know. So boxing is in a prime position. As long as we get the talent on there that I know the boxing world has, boxing is in a great position. I think, like you said, Jill, it's going to be even bigger than it was before this quarantine.
But we are going to take the time for the health and safety, and eventually we'll go back to the traditions of boxing. So Thornton, Mark, do you have any ideas about like immediate?
Yeah. So I try to be realistic about this. There's a lot of factors that are going to impact all sports here. Boxing won't be exempt from it. We're going to run into some tough economic times in the US for a while. You know, what's happened here, the number of businesses that have closed, the way they will reopen, many won't reopen. Ones that do reopen will be reopening at, it's, when you're at 0 and you go to 50%, it looks fantastic and people are euphoric. But when the dust settles and you realize I'm just at 50% and I got to run a business, it causes business owners to step back and say, gulp, what do we do now? Who do we employ? What do we pay? How do we get people to come in here? Consumers, this COVID isn't just going to go away overnight. I've been doing a lot of reading, and it may be with us forever in some form or another, just like the common cold is, and just like the flu is, and just like chickenpox are. And you find varying ways to deal with it and slow it down until you have the immunity at the mass herd level. All of that says that economics are going to be tough. And just think about this. You don't just have to have, it's one thing, you don't have fans in an arena. It's a significant reducer of revenue for promoters who take great risks. Then go to the next level. The network has to have advertisers if they're an ad-supported network. If they're a subscriber-based network, like a premium television service, as Showtime is, or a subscription service like ESPN Plus or The Zone, you got to have all those subscribers back on. That means they have to be employed. That means they have to be paying their bills, have their money. Any falling off in any of those segments is going to cause economic ripples to be felt. Major League Baseball said they were ready to go and everybody got excited and they said they had a plan. Well, then the owners put the plan in the laps of the Major League Baseball Players Association and everything came to a halt because the players said, what? I'm going to be asked to take make half of what I used to make for the time being. So there are going to be some tough calls here. One thing I do know, got a heck of a lot of boxers ready to fight. And the networks want to have product so that they can televise it for fans. And everybody will have to adapt to the economic equation that's reasonable. I'd say to somebody like Sean, this is where you better make sure, and I know you do, you have the right team around you, because you have to have people that can evaluate the situation. I say this to Clarissa all the time. We have to be realistic. Thank God I know the economics well enough of every aspect of the sport that when we talk to a promoter or a network and they say this is what we can afford to pay Clarissa for a fight, I know exactly if they're right or they're wrong and where the money is. I'm not going to let anybody decide to make money in a zero-sum game at her expense, but everybody's going to have to share in the economic comeback of all of these sports. So if you have the right people around you, I think we can all get back in there and frankly, get back there pretty quickly. The other thing is, don't go pointing fingers and say, you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong. Everybody has to take a sense of responsibility. From network to promoter to fighter to manager to trainer, we're all a part of this economically. We're all a part of this performance-wise, delivering to consumers. And if we all bear our share and keep our eyes and ears open and we're fair to one another, we can get back quickly and deliver product. Easier said than done.
Well, that's what Mauricio has been sort of preaching to us and preaching to the board of the WBC and putting out a protocol that was put together by the task force, which is some of the top doctors. It's not the WBC, it's the top doctors in the world from Cornell Weill, from UCLA, who have put a safety procedure together. Mauricio, do you have any comment on what Mark said?
Well, he's absolutely correct. I like to see it in the lighter shine of that equation, but it's a reality. Everything is gonna suffer. Every economic activity, as we know in the world, is going to have to adjust. We are speaking to all promoters we try to keep close communications with the fighters. we will support everything. The WBC board has approved to have all flexibility in our rules to adjust. And we're going to address every division precisely case by case and support anything that the promoters need to do, because there has to be adjustments. To fly ring officials all over the world, it costs to the promoter. We even made we're doing a protocol which I like very much, but it is just an example on how things can be adjusted. This protocol of remote judging, we have been using it for evaluating our officials for 2 years. So they score live the fights from home, and then we do evaluation, compare what was the ringside scoring compared to the television, blah, 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 blah. It has been done for evaluation and training. And at this time, you know, every single person, one person in the arena is one person that you have to do a protocol, a risk management of anyone who is in that to start boxing. So there are going to be a couple of fights. We're going to do it remotely. And we're going to compare and see where it goes. And this is very technical. It's very boxing. People, the traditionals, are very against, but we're playing with it. And we're going to look all over to see how we can adjust, make new things, because that has impact in the economics, in the logistics, and so many things that we have to be careful at this time. I am just, I know that there's going to be a vaccine coming out. I know there's going to be a new way of life. I know blah, 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 blah. But I can tell you, sooner than we think, we're going to be together, hugging each other, having a nice hot chocolate or beer or pizza or tacos or whatever. And boxing is always the leader. 9/11, it looked like the world was going to finish. The first event, only 2 weeks after 9/11, was Trinidad against Hopkins. So boxing is going to show the strength. We need the fans. I mean, the fans are desperate. I am so tired of watching the greatest NFL moments, the greatest Major League World Series home run. You know, we need Sean Porter in the ring showing us what it is, the greatest.
Mauricio, go ahead. Let me just say this, because something very important. So people need to understand that there are going to be increased costs, like for testing and travel and other things. There's going to be a revenue shortage when you talk about tickets, you know, live gate at the arena. However, the predominant source of revenue in boxing for any event is television. And nothing about Corona is going to make it worse for somebody to stay home and watch boxing on television. And what I mean by that is the right fights need to get made. We have to make sure that promoters don't make A fights against C fights, B fights against D fighters, excuse me. If we deliver the right fights, the exciting fights, the fights that get television viewers to watch, we can overcome any revenue issue there is and generate even more revenue into the kitty than we were historically. I know from the pay-per-view business that you could have Canelo Alvarez fight someone and do 200,000 buys, and you could have him fight someone and do 1.5 million buys. Floyd Mayweather did 300,000 buys one day, 4.5 million buys the other. If you do the right fights, the revenue will grow on television, and I don't just mean on pay-per-view, as well as people wanting subscriptions to these services like DAZN and Showtime and ESPN Plus. Revenues can grow to make up for and exceed the previous revenue levels for the sport. That can happen if everyone delivers to fans the right fights and the fans say, wow, am I glad boxing's back? That's what I hope happens, because then no one will suffer. Everyone, all the way through to the fans, will be willing to pay and get paid for what they deserve.
And just to add on to Mark's point, I think I think we all as fans want the sport to come back. Obviously, safety is going to be important. I think people have to realize things will be different. If you look at the way the UFC had, I believe it was 3 fights in 8 days, and they took the safety protocols, but things were different. Fighters who were in the cage, they could actually hear the announcers because it was so quiet, and they could get kind of advice of what they should do. There was a fighter who said they did that. And it was interesting that Sean actually said, part of his motivation when he trains is that feeling of going out to hearing the crowd, right? So that's going to change a top fighter's training camp mentality of how hard they change. So we need to realize that things will be different. Mauricio, you brought up remote judging, things like that. That can happen, but if those things need to happen for it to come back safely and for us to see boxing, then we as fans, I think, will be ready to have those adjustments because we want to see these fights come back.
But here's one thing I can guarantee you, and Sean, we'll see your answer to this. Sean, I know walking out to a big crowd and all that noise is great, et cetera. But once that bell rings, when that guy across from you gets close to you, do you see anything else but that fighter? When he hits you, do you have any other focus or any other feeling that you need to hit him back even better and throw more punches than he's throwing at you? And that is what will make for the great fights and give the fans what they want. When it's game time, fighters are focused like this, right?
Yeah, I think there are some things from a competitive standpoint and performance standpoint for a boxer that's going to, again, work to our advantage. The fact that we train with nearly no one in the gym. Mm-hmm. I don't know about most guys, but when I spar 70 to 90%, you know, so I understand what it feels like to get that adrenaline up, to get that energy going, to do what you have to do to the guy across from you, even when there's basically no one in the gym. So I do know what that feels like. You know, again, when you go to the ring and you don't have all that outside noise, you're probably more focused and attentive to the guy that you're fighting and also your corner. And I think that, you know, those are a few of the advantages to having, you know, basically a empty stadium right now when we first come back and fighting. But again, I don't think there's anything like an exciting crowd at a fight. Of course. And then and let me say this goes all the way back to the amateur program. I think anyone that knows me, that knows my dad, knows that he's the loudest man in the arena anyway, even when there is 10,000 people there. So I know I'll be just fine.
You know, Chad,
WBC talks about this with some filmmakers, and they were giving us some ideas about how to shoot a fight that might make it very, very interesting in terms of footwork and things like that. And maybe you guys should speak to this guy, Rick 𝗥𝗢𝗨𝗡, who's one of the leading cinematographers. He has some great ideas, but I'm going to ask.
Also, Jill, 1 second. I've been speaking with a few members of the boxing community. This is a time to get innovation. I mean, if you're going to fight and you go out and somehow the television and the promoter find a way to make that stadium rock and have the noise out and the enthusiasm. I mean, there are ways that you can substitute one things for other. It's not the same, but I feel very confident that people can do very innovative things.
These guys were from Lights Out, which was a TV series, and they were giving us all kinds of clues how to rock up the stadium, even if there wasn't any fans out there. Mm-hmm. But I'm going to ask you a serious question, Thorsten, but first I'm going to maybe embarrass you. Can everybody see this? Can anybody see this? Ready?
Oh, wait, Gio.
No?
No, wait. Oh. Because we're going to show it, because I asked one day Thorsten, I was very stressed, very depressed. And I said, Thorsten, please help me out. It's fight night. I need to get my stress out. What can we do so I can feel better? So please show the video.
I hope you can see it.
No. They're going to show it, Jill.
You do have it?
Okay. Yeah.
I didn't know if they got it.
Víctor, por ahí tiene el video que mandé.
It's going to be embarrassing.
It's fun. It's not embarrassing.
I think they're still looking for it. No, give me a minute.
Tom, what have you been doing during this time?
Well, I've been digitizing putting all my old photos on online, so they're searchable and they're available.
How do we find them?
Go to hoganphotos.com.
Great. I look forward to doing that.
Yeah.
And which is, would you say, what's your favorite photograph you have ever taken?
Back when Oscar fought Fernando Vargas, I got a shot where both of them are connecting at the same time. I don't have it available to show you right now, but that's probably my favorite photo that I've ever taken.
That's what he has.
Huh?
The Fraser Ali poster over his head. We needed that yesterday.
And how do you pick your shots when you're taking the photographs? Okay, this is what Thurston asked me to do to have a relaxed moment.
You want me to make you jump like this? Wait.
Mauricio, did it work? Were you more relaxed?
Oh yes, I was very. I was so worried to shoot Thurston out with my body.
You can't do anything.
That's actually, was that what motivated you to lose all that weight? You didn't want Thurston to fly up through the sky?
Yes, yes.
I bumped him multiple times. He went like, oh.
So Thorsten, how do you predict the future, the near future? What do you think is going to change? The trends that are coming?
Yeah, so let's talk about, because I think that today is put on for the fans, right? And you have so many fans tune in today on WBC Talks on Facebook Live. So first and foremost, I think it's important to say, you heard it from Sean, you heard it from everybody else. Everybody's antsy to get back, right? This is important. However, nobody wants to risk anybody's life, and we got to be very, very careful. So in the last couple of weeks have been a ton of conversations, a ton of meetings, remotely, virtually, with state athletic commissions, with promoters, with the sanctioning bodies like WBC and everything. And it's important now to find a new normal. And the question is, how do you get to that new normal? So I think it's very fair to say nobody wants to do the first mistake. The promoters, especially the big ones in boxing, take it very seriously. They're really looking into things and trying to plan everything out. So what you will see first is that there will be a couple of closed circuit shows where basically the arena is empty, might even be in a television studio where just the fight is filmed and then broadcasted. But to Mark's point, 100% correct, it's important that this is a good fight because the people want to see a great fight, otherwise it's redundant. So I think it's not about putting on as much content as possible right now, but it's about the quality of the content. And then what we've been working on, Mauricio mentioned it on your side with regard to procedures, we've done exactly the same. So what we want to try to guarantee is, unlike what happened at the UFC where one of the fighters tested positive in fight week. So we want to make sure that everybody feels safe and protected and healthy before they come to fight week, during fight week, and then on the fight night also. So as an example, there was a conference call the other day with the California State Athletic Commission, and they were very, very clear and very strict on the testing protocol they would like the fighters to go through, just to make sure when everybody arrives, all stakeholders have been tested and everybody knows there is no danger of catching COVID-19 from anybody being involved in the audience. So I think what is fair to say, though, is that events in general are going to change. And at the moment, it starts trying to create a better journey for the fan going to the fight. Basically, there's a lot of fans right now thinking, do I want to go there in person whenever it becomes available, or do I watch it at home? And I think the responsibility right now is to make sure that they feel comfortable, that they feel communicated to, that they know what's going on. So creating a journey and making sure the fan knows every step of the way, he just purchased the ticket, where do I park, how do I go in? And we on our end, as an example, we've created now a couple of tools where you do arrival and departure calculations in order to fill it out and maintain social distancing, where you basically can guarantee that people are not arriving all together, 1,000 people on one piece, that they're going in. We've created a tool where you seat the arena, maintaining social distancing, but also incorporating like a family where there's a family of 4. So instead of having like every seat being 6 feet apart from the next seat, you can group this, yet you still have before and front 6 part to the others. And there's about egress, ingress, how to make that happen and everything. So I think it's fair to say that this whole experience is going to be changing for sure, but it will make it all in all safer. And we will come back to the fact that the arena is loud and there is something happening. I don't know if you guys saw that, but being European, hugely into soccer, or football as we call it, because there's only one. They have done in one stadium in Germany, I really like that actually, fans bought a seat for $10 and the stadium, the soccer club, put up their photo. So I'm sending in my photo now and I get placed into seat row 5, number 17. So they are playing soccer in that stadium, and there's a lot of paper cardboard, if you want, for lack of a better word, fans sitting in this arena, and they are playing in the fans, cheering and music and going wild and everything.
Have you seen the Korean baseball games? With
yes.
And all of the faces all over they filled in every seat with faces.
Exactly. So this is hopefully this is only the short time period in the future, the short future, and then in the long run there will be ways of making it safer and making it better. But I can tell you, and especially for the fans listening right now, it's important to say that the sanctioning bodies, the athletic state commissions, and especially the promoters and networks who are putting on those shows, they take that very, very seriously, and they want to plan and make sure when there's an event with public again, that everybody is safe and everybody will be safe. But
to speak to the elephant in the room, people don't understand why WWE and UFC are just charging ahead and putting on events, and that we can't do it. I mean, we are subject to so many more health and safety rules, and it's important to us to do it correctly. Yeah. But people don't
absolutely.
It's a different business model, and that each state has a different commission and each a different procedure. This is hard stuff, but we'll do it. Coco, still in charge.
For example, we just finished a protocol with WADA. We have resumed testing. We stopped for a while because it was not safe to have collectors and fighters receiving collectors during the 3 critical moments. We have resumed. And now WADA also has COVID-19 testing. So they can do the anti-doping testing and also COVID-19. So this is time to look into opportunities, diversity, to find ways to do different things.
Coco, do you still have contact with a lot of the boxers?
Yes.
How are they feeling?
I think, like Sean said, they're pretty anxious to get back into action. Which is one question I had wanted to ask Sean when he was, but I think Kern mentioned, how will you feel going into the arena without fans? How does that affect your energy?
I think, I really don't think it's going to affect my energy. And the reason being is because I know what's at stake. I know that in that moment, as Thorsten has said before, I know that I have to seize that moment and the opportunity, and something even that I feel is as big and as it is, I have to make minute and make a small relevance in the moment. And I think, again, when you get in the ring, I think the adrenaline takes over. I think the game plan takes over. I think the fact that another guy's trying to hurt you, I think all that takes place of whatever is going to be missing in that moment.
Coco, given your rapport with the boxing community and your knowledge of the business and all of the crazy things that are going on right now, you have never been more needed in this business. I mean, not many people can do what you do with the cool that you do it and be the most glamorous woman in the house. But the truth is, I mean, we need people who can go out there and really explain to the boxers who are so hungry to go back to work all of the rules and all the things that are going on in a way that's authentic, that they believe. And you would be just the perfect person for that.
Oh, thanks for saying that, Jill. I think it's really about the testing, the timing of the testings, and the quality of the tests that will help get this back into action.
Absolutely, but we also need people who can explain what is going on, why the money is different, why the setup is different, why they are not being taken advantage of. This is just the way it is for now. And you'd be wonderful.
You know, Jill, I think also what you're going to see now in the future is you're going to see who's the real professional athlete. I don't know if you all heard that early on, what Sean was actually saying. He said he started training. I believe, Sean, you said you're in week 7, week 6 or 7.
I'm finishing week 6.
And he said, I hope I'm correct now, Sean, you said you don't even know against whom, but you are already training. And this is the real professional athlete, in my opinion, focused, getting there, getting ready. He's not goofing around and being on the playground and doing stupid stuff. No, he's like focused in the game, and he knows what's coming. And I think this is also what you're going to feel the next couple of weeks and months when stuff is coming back again.
He's so professional that he has to go to the gym now.
Look,
Right.
before we say something serious, I just have to ask a very truthful question about everyone. There is, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 people there. How many of you have your suitcases packed?
That's so funny you asked that. So you guys know I've been doing work for Fox, and we've been texting, trying to figure out when we're going to get back to work, when we're going to do some things. And I sometimes I wake up and I'm just thinking like, oh, I wish I could go to the studio. I wish we had a day to film. And I thought to myself, you know what? I should just pack my bag. I should just go to the airport like I'm getting on the flight and then just go home. I think that'll give me some peace of mind.
Unbelievable.
You got your little suitcase packed just in case? Mark, come on, everyone here has that suitcase.
Yeah,
It's
look,
always ready.
every day I'm on the phone trying to get the fighters I work with, you know, there's so many fighters right now looking for fights that one of the most important jobs that someone like I have right now is to get in that queue and do your best to get your fighter the opportunity. Because, you know, arguably fighters could be ready, people can go back, but because you've lost 8 months, somebody's got to wait 8 more months till they get a fight. And no one's going to understand that. Every single fighter is going to say, okay, we're back, so why aren't I fighting? And it's going to be quite a challenge. And particularly when you complicate that with the fact that if there aren't fans in the arenas for a while, if that happens, there won't be as many fights. So there'll be even less opportunities. So what I think about right now, I'm out there hustling, talking every day, trying to help make the plans, make the deals, be realistic so that the fighters I work with can get back in the ring the minute we're allowed to come out of the gates. Not, you know, won't be easy though.
And there is something different also, Jill. Football leagues are talking about the poor level that they're coming back. It could hurt the players. But in boxing, you usually check the fighter, weight, health, and everything. So you know if he's ready or not. If he's overweight, he didn't do anything during this time. But he's in shape and he's in weight.
The gyms aren't open. The gyms aren't open.
Right.
People are not working in the normal way that they can work to their benefit.
And to answer your question, I have dreams where I'm looking for my passport and my suitcase. And yeah, I have that kind of dreams.
Dog in your suitcase. I saw. So does anybody have anything they want to add to this? Talking about a dog in the picture. I have one that just came to my room. Teal, would you have anything you feel that has been left out about behind the scenes? Fight night.
What's this?
Mauricio, do you have any questions you'd like to ask?
You asked somebody directly. I was not certain. Well, I just want to finish by saying I appreciate you all very much. Each one will have a job to do, and it's going to be a challenge, but it's going to be a good opportunity to see how good we really are. I mean, let's face it, it's a reality. It's not a punishment. It's a fact. Something is happening, and we have to go out and perform in our little world and make the difference. So I'm in the presence of all champions. So I'm sure it's going to be a great. Let's enjoy. I mean, we're going to think back a couple of years from now and say, wow, it was tough, but I did this and this and this and this. Don't be afraid to look for help. I mean, it's the emotions and the challenges that we all face when we wake up, when we go to bed. It's hard. And I don't know if you listened to 𝗧𝗔𝗟𝗞𝗦 when she gave the explanation. That has been so helpful to me, to listen to someone to tell me what to do to keep a mental health healthy. Is that well said? No, to keep
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, she's brilliant. And I mean, it sounds so simple, but if you look in the mirror, comb your hair and smile, it goes sometimes from the outside in. It's not always from the inside out, because we can't control the terrible things that go on. But if you stand strong and, just like Sochi said, smile and get away from what's toxic. Get rid of the toxic. It does no good right now.
Very good.
Coco?
Let me just say this. The proudest moment I had in a 25-year career was at the end of September, on the 29th of September in 2001, when 2 weeks after 9/11, roughly 2.5 weeks, the perseverance and the persistence that was applied by the decision makers and the whole team of people, the large number of people that it takes to run an event, paid off. And we brought that event, Trinidad Hopkins, to the Garden, to the people, to television. All of the pain was captured and let out in a moment, almost like a volcano erupting, and the good feelings and the goodwill that came out of that proved to you that you could beat anything, you could overcome anything. And we actually had a magnificent period following that, because we took the energy and we used it in a positive sense. The same thing can happen here, and anybody who has the opportunity to participate in that comeback should grab that bull by the horns, run straight ahead right into that opportunity, and enjoy the wonderful feelings that you'll have for being a part of it. And hopefully that's what will happen.
Absolutely. And it's such a pleasure to see all of you here, all of you healthy. It's a gift. We are blessed. And as Mark said, we have to take that blessing and move forward in the most positive way possible. Anyone have anything to add?
No, Mark, that was really well said. And I think this will be a good opportunity. As Sean said earlier, boxing has never had the off season before, right? This is the first off season. It'll be interesting to see how we come back. Certain fighters like Sean have access to gyms. They're able to train, so they're ready. Other fighters maybe go to a public gym or something where they're not able to train. The one thing we hope to get to your point, Mark, about getting the better matchups is more people hopefully will be available to fight. It's not like someone just had a fight. Hopefully older fighters had a little bit more time to rest, like a GENNADY GOLOVKIN, СERGEЙ KOVALEV, whoever. You know, the people who have more rounds under their belt, right? There was a little bit of time there to rest, so that opens them up for matchups. So to your point, it's all about what we all do next. And I think we've talked a lot about that here on this panel. And if we come together and we can deliver, you know, the fans, the big matchups that everyone wants, hopefully in the fall and later this year. I mean, I think that's something that everyone here is fully on board for and hoping to make a push for.
Thorsten?
I'm looking forward to coming back. You know, quite frankly, and I agree with Mauricio what he just said, you know, because when the beginning of coronavirus, my business went down to zero overnight, you know, because I'm doing all of this stuff what you're not allowed to do anymore. So I'm not essential, I'm not important, I'm just making people smile and people spend money and people being happy. But even if everything came to a standstill, you still got to think positive, you still got to look forward, and you got to come up with new stuff. I mean, yesterday somebody said to me, you know, because we introduced our suite of services, and he said, oh, you're making lemonade out of lemons. I like it. And even though that is a saying I don't really like, but yeah, so you got to think positive, you got to stay strong, you got to think forward to the moment when everything comes back, and then get ready and go for it. And quite frankly, I'm missing so many people, you know, all the runners, Roy, Hervey, Eric, Semi, my team. I can't wait for the next event. As small or as big as it might be, I don't care. I just want to see people again. That's all what it is.
Anybody else have anything to add? Then all I can say to the quality of people here, you are the best of the best, and no matter what happens, you'll be the best at it. So the future holds many possibilities. Stay safe. Victor?
Stay safe. Stay home.
No, but let's do the hug, the virtual hug before Victor says goodbye. Come close to the camera. Come on. Give me, I feel it. I feel it. Give me a hug.
It's so good. It's so good. It's so good.
Well, thank you very much for being with us. This was round 47. Stay home, stay safe. Jill.
My age, 47.
Face.
Too late for me.
Stay safe. Stay cool.
Take care, guys.
Thank you,
Thanks
Jill.
so much for today.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you guys.
Thanks.
Bye.